Hey, Mama Selena for African Daisy, and it is another Wednesday in the Word. I hope that you have had a fantastic week and a great weekend. And it is now starting to feel a lot cooler here. Usually in the mornings, I love to come outside and have coffee and just enjoy the outdoors. And most mornings, it's so interesting. It's been like 80 degrees. But fall has arrived, is definitely here. It was about 50 degrees today. So yes, anyway, it's a beautiful, beautiful morning. So let's just get into the word. We're going to read in Numbers 11. And we're going to start here. It says, "Now the people became like those who complain and whine about their hardships. And the Lord heard it. And when the Lord heard it, his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burned among them and devoured those in the outlying parts of the camp. So the people cried out to Moses, and when Moses prayed to the Lord, the fire died out." So the people cried out to Moses. Oh, the fire died out. Okay. He named that place Taberah, the place of burning, because the fire of the Lord burned among them. The rabble among them who followed Israel from Egypt had greedy desires for familiar and delicious food. And the Israelites wept again and said, "Who will give us meat to eat? We remember the fish we ate freely without cost in Egypt, the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. But now our appetite is gone, and there's nothing at all in the way of food to be seen but this manna." And we know manna was what God had provided for them to eat as they were wandering through the wilderness. Oh my God, that is a bee. Dear God. Whoo, surprised me there. The manna was the manna was what God had provided while they were wandering in the desert. The manna was like coriander seed, and it looked like bdellium. The people went about and gathered it and ground in mills or beat it in mortars and boiled it in pots and made cakes with it. And it tasted like cakes baked with fresh olive oil. When the dew fell on the camp at night, the manna fell with it. Now Moses heard the people weeping in self-pity throughout their families, every man at the doorway of his tent, and the anger of the Lord blazed hotly, and Moses regarded their behavior as evil. So Moses said to the Lord, "Why have you been so hard on your servant? And why have I not found favor in your sight that you've placed this burden of all these people on me? Was it I who conceived all these people? Was it I who brought them forth, that you should say to me, 'Carry them in your arms as a nurse carries the nursing infant, or to the land which you swore to their fathers? Where am I to get meat to give all these people? For they weep before me and say, 'Give us meat so that we may eat.' I'm not able to carry all these people alone, because the burden is too heavy for me. So if this is the way you are going to deal with me, please kill me at once, if I found favor in your sight, and do not let me see my wretchedness." God had a lot of grace. Moses. Accordingly, the Lord said to Moses, "Gather for me 70 men from among the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and their officers. Bring them to the tent of meeting, tabernacle, and let them stand there with you. Then I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take away some of the spirit who is upon you, and will put it upon them, and will put him upon them. And they shall bear the burden of the people with you, so that you will not have to bear it alone. Say to the people, 'Consecrate, separate as holy yourselves, for tomorrow you shall eat meat. For you have wept in self-pity in the ears of the Lord, saying, Who will give us meat to eat? For we were well off in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall eat not 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, nor 10 days, nor 20 days, but a whole month, until it comes out your nostrils and is disgusting to you. Because you have rejected and despised the Lord who is among you, and have wept in self-pity before him, saying, Why did we come out of Egypt?' But Moses said, the people among whom I am are 600,000 fighting men on foot, besides all the women and children. Yet you have said, I will give them meat, so that they may eat for a whole month. Should flocks and herds be slaughtered for them to be sufficient for them? Or should all the fish of the sea be collected for them to be sufficient for them? The Lord said to Moses, is the Lord's hands, his ability, his power limited, short, inadequate? You shall see now whether my word will come to pass for you or not. So Moses went out and spoke to the people the words of the Lord, and he gathered 70 men from among the elders of the people and stationed them around the tent tabernacle. Then the Lord came down in a cloud and spoke to him, and took some of the Spirit who was upon Moses and put him upon the 70 elders. When the Spirit rested upon them, they prophesied, praising God and declaring his will, but they did not do it again. But 2 men had remained in the camp, one named Eldad and the other Medad. The Spirit rested upon them. Now they were among those who had been registered, but had not gone out to the tent. And they prophesied in the camp. So a young man ran and told Moses and said, Eldad and Medad are prophesying, extolling the praises of God and declaring his will in the camp. Then Joshua, son of Nun, the attendant of Moses from his youth, said, My Lord Moses, stop them. But Moses said to him, Are you jealous for my sake? Would that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit upon them. Then Moses went back into the camp, he and the elders of Israel. It's interesting. I love that part because he said, but Moses said, Are you jealous for my sake? Would that all the Lord's people were prophets, and the Lord would put his Spirit upon them. And he wanted to, and that was the purpose, and that was the goal. Like, all of this journey from leaving Egypt is to lead us to Jesus, right? It's to lead us to the Father. And so one of the things that I find very interesting is that the people rejected that. And so anyway, Moses was the only one. He was seeing God. He was seeing God face to face. He had his Spirit rested upon him. And now, so anyway, God desires all of us. And so it was just interesting that it says here, that the Lord desired for all of them to have his Spirit upon them. So anyway, I just found that so very fascinating, especially because this is the Old Testament, and oftentimes we tend to know that we're like, well, that didn't happen till the New Testament, but God desired it here, even in the Old Testament. And we know even King David. So if you read about King David, also where the Spirit of the Lord was upon him. So, let's continue reading. Now there went forth a wind from the Lord, and it brought quails from the sea and let them fall. So they flew low beside the camp about a day's journey on the side and on the other side, all around the camp, about 2 cubits or 3 feet deep on the surface of the ground. 3 feet deep. That's like a toddler. Get lost. The people spent all that day and all night and all the next day, caught and gathered the quail. The one who gathered least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them out for themselves around the camp to cure them by drying. While the meat was still between their teeth, before it was chewed, the anger of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord struck them with a very severe plague. So that place was named Kibroth Hattaavah, the graves of greediness, because there they buried the people who had been greedy for more than the manna that God provided them. And then from Kibroth Hattaavah, the people set out for Hazeroth, and they remained at Hazeroth. So what I love about the Old Testament is that as you read it, as you go through the Old Testament, it leads us to Jesus. That's really what it does. And so Don't just read it surfacely. Ask the Lord to explain it to you. Ask the Lord, if you don't understand something. But it really is amazing how it leads us to the Lord. And so I love that. I love God's word. So anyway, I love you all. I hope that you're having a great week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.